Hey guys, Kyle here with Gnarly Knives, and I'm actually very excited for the review today on this sweet, beautiful carving knife. This is the Marttiini Witch's Tooth. This is hands down my absolute favorite carving knife, and I want to talk a little bit about it. We'll do the specs first, then we'll get into some of the usage with it, some of my experiences, and we'll also talk about the folklore. This actually has a little bit of story and culture that goes with it, which I think is pretty awesome. And it's just an absolutely beautiful knife. I do have another Marttiini here we recently reviewed, and we will use this for comparison. And then I want to get into a little bit of discussion just talking about price differences, in that sometimes paying for more material or different material, and what you get sometimes paying more. I'm trying to think of a better way of putting that. But more or less, sometimes you'll pay more, and doesn't necessarily mean you're getting better performance, but maybe you're just getting better, well, what I consider just art. Because the blade itself on this is very similar to the Marttiini Timberjack. It's just a little bit shorter, but the price difference is pretty significant. This goes for probably about 4 to 5 times the price. But we will talk about that afterwards. But let's jump right into it. So this here, like I said, the Marttiini Witch's Tooth. This is an absolutely beautiful knife out of Finland. And this, when I bought it, I got it for, I believe it was $90. I've seen it when it was on Amazon. Right before this video, I actually did quite a bit of research. I actually fear that they might not be making this anymore. I hope that isn't true, my suspicions. But I was able to find the carbon version, which is this one, on KnifeWorks, so it goes for about $85. They also have a stainless steel version I would love to get my hands on, but that one I was only able to find off Marttiini's website, and it was going for 140 euros, and not 100% up to date on my conversions when it comes to money, euros to the US dollar, but that's roughly, you're probably looking, if it's 140 euros, probably going to be 150 something, 160 US dollars. If I can't find it anywhere else, I will at some point get it through that website, because I love this knife so much. I want it in both versions. It's just such a beautiful knife. Honestly, if I had the money, I'd probably pick up 4 or 5 of each just to keep, and just to give as special gifts to people, or even, do something of a giveaway. At some point, I actually would like to do a giveaway, maybe when I hit 500 subscribers, I was thinking. But we'll talk more about that in future videos. But this is an absolutely beautiful knife. We'll just do the specs real quick, and then we'll jump into everything. So this knife, overall, it is 8 1/4. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Let me just fix the light. Sorry about that, guys. I know it seems to happen like every other video. I just always forget, and I do apologize for that. I am trying to do better. But, so the specs real quick. This knife is 8 1/4 inches overall, and it is a 3.5 inch blade, and I'd say a 3 1/4 inch cutting edge. This is the carbon steel version, as I said, and what is really cool, they do add, this comes with a bluing, and then you can kind of see a little bit engraved. It's just the J. Marttiini Finland, who's the original creator of this amazing knife company. As I've said in previous videos, I want to flood YouTube and the internet with Marttiini knives. I really think that they are extremely underrated, and I really think more people should have them. There are videos, but in my opinion, not enough. I really think anybody who's serious about carving or bushcraft or just knives, I really think should have a Marttiini. Even if you don't do carving or bushcraft, but you're into collecting knives just in general, I think this would be a great knife to add to that collection just for the beauty alone. Because this, in my opinion, is honestly a piece of art. And you can even see, too, it has a beautifully mirror polished blade. And you can even kind of see, you can kind of see the camera a little bit. But this knife, I've had it for a couple of years now. I would say probably close to 3 years. This was probably the first, or one of the first, nicer or higher end knives that I got. It was actually a gift. I got this from my fiance and my daughter. But this thing really, I cannot speak enough to the quality of this and how beautiful it is. So what you do have going with the handle, and we'll get into the blade a bit more, but this is curly birch, so you can see these little designs in here. It's just from the way the wood is grown. Curly birch, it's, from what I understand, it's no different than any other birch. It's just the way it grows, so these little designs and stuff that you see in it is just from grain twist. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong, but just from, the research and stuff that I've done and from my understanding of it, this wood generally comes from the gnarls or burls that grow on wood. But absolutely beautiful. So even if you got 5 or 10 of the same knife, each one would be unique because the designs would be all different, just based off of what they get from the tree. You also do have some beautiful reindeer antler in a couple spots. So you have right here and then the end cap, and we will actually get to this. These holes here are actually by design, but we'll get into that a little bit when we get more into the folklore aspect. And then it does have a brass bolster. It's not quite as shiny as it originally was, but brass, as you may know, does patina, and to me, I think just it's beautiful. It just adds to the value of the character of the knife. And then on the back, this whole end cap is the antler, and you can see it does have a nice snowflake carved into it. Or yeah, it's definitely etched into it. But you can feel it's rough, so it's into the antler itself versus just being painted or whatever on. Getting to the blade, like I said, it is the carbon version. I have discussed in previous videos, but if this is your first time watching a video of mine, especially a Marttiini, Marttiini doesn't really disclose much of what steels they use. The exception being some of their knives they use is 420, and they'll just kind of go into a little bit of the recipe of the knife steels versus what their actual names are. So I don't know, I guess take that for what it is. It's, if you want to, the trade secrets and whatever, I respect that. I just wish I knew the name of it, but whatever, I can respect that. Whatever it is, steel that they do use for the stainless and their carbon, I have no complaints. They are amazing steels. This knife, I really generally use it mainly for carving some stuff that's special, if you will. I've done probably a couple dozen carvings with this, and I have not sharpened it. This still is the factory mirror polish, and I'm able to maintain it with a strop. At some point, I will have to sharpen it, but now that I do have higher grit stones, and I've been able to do mirror polishes, at least on the scale of small edges on knives, just to kind of give a comparison or idea. There's a video we did a couple, maybe a week ago, but I'm trying to, so you can kind of see, but this is the Benchmade Griptilian, the 20 CV model, but this is a mirror polish on here. I mean, I will say it's not quite as beautiful as the one on here, but having the higher grit stones, I believe I can do a pretty good job of being able to keep the mirror polish, because I think it's just absolutely beautiful, but it's just kind of what's original to the knife. Like I said, I do use it more for special carvings. Just to give an example, when I first started carving, one of the main woods I really started using that I had gained most of my carving beginner experience, if you will, was grapewood. My father grew a bunch of grapevines in our backyard, then one day decided to cut them all down several years ago. I saved all the wood. At first, I wish I knew better at the time, but when you first done it, I just burned a lot of it because it just smells really nice. It smells really good, just like grape almost. Like you can definitely tell it's like, oh wow, it has like a hint of grape, but it's a very distinct smell. But now that there's not much left, I am very sparing with using what I do have left, and it's, I've done some research. It's, when you can find it, which isn't that often, it really isn't that cheap. And as I've said in other videos, I'm sure I kind of like more the idea of just gathering my own wood. I mean, part of it, yeah, I'm kind of a cheap bastard, but, with the exception of some things like, my axe handles and stuff, I bought the hickory board to do all that, and I will buy more to do more handles and stuff, but what I do have left, I only carve with this knife. I just attributed that to the knife and whatever. But it is a very beautiful wood to work with, and I really do enjoy. It's okay. Um, but this knife, I only use it now just if I'm carving the grape wood. So it's absolutely just very nostalgic for me in that sense. I mean, once I run out of the grape wood, I will use it for other things. Usually, the other stuff I've used it on is just more for gifts. It's just, I know I keep rambling about I really, really love this knife so much. But getting into the folklore of it, I've done some research, and even you can find stuff on Marttiini's website. And when I found the stainless version, they even went into it on Blade HQ's website, or the carbon version rather. Even though it was out of stock, but they were selling it there. I was able to find the description. But the idea is that the knife is supposed to ward off evil spirits. So the reason you have the holes in here, there is a little bead. You can kind of hear that does that rattle. The idea is the rattle is supposed to ward off evil spirits. I think generally it's more for when the person in the woods is eating, the spirits are supposed to leave them alone and, not bother said person. But I just like that whole idea of, warding away evil spirits and stuff. I have not brought this to the woods. I have other blades that I usually carry, and this being very special, but I'm not saying I never would. I actually probably will start, just more for that, keeping the spirits away. But Marttiini, as with every other Marttiini I have, I probably have 6 or 7 by now, and every one has just been top quality fit and finish. I mean, this handle is super smooth, and then even the transitions, you can barely feel that there's any transition between the wood and the antler. And, especially up by the brass, when you just feel where the wood and the brass meet, it just feels like there's one piece. The only way you can tell the difference is just because the brass just feels colder because it's metal. But they really do such an amazing job with it, and it's just the wood is very polished, and I mean it's tarnished a little bit just from use and everything in the hand, but and the knife is very, very comfortable. It just exactly fits my hand. There's not really any extra room, but I don't need it. It's just it perfectly fits my hand, and you can carve for a very, very long time with this. And I honestly, especially at the height of the grape wood, using it and stuff, when I would had more time, and I'd do a couple carvings a day. And grape wood is not a soft steel. It's not a very soft wood. It's not hickory. I mean, that's, as of now, the toughest wood I've come up across. But in how it feels carving, I would put it very similar to oak, just in that, or even maple, like a seasoned maple or a seasoned oak. It is a very tough wood. I mean, it's amazing. Even while you're carving it, I know we talk about the smell with like burning, but while you're carving it, you can smell it. Just releases the smells. Like it's just, I don't know. I should do a whole video just about different woods and grape wood. It's actually a pretty good idea. I should do that, but it's not for now. I'm trying to keep down on all the rambling. But as you can tell, I'm very, very excited about this knife. I love this knife so much. But this is a knife, even people who aren't really into knives, and I'll show them some knives or whatever. Like, I'll show them stuff like this, and they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. But then I'll show them this knife, and they're like, oh wow, like they just find it really, really cool. And especially when I talk about like the antler and stuff, the reindeer antler, and the story with the rattle. And it is something that they really can appreciate, just having all these different materials, from the brass to the wood to the antler. Excuse me. It's something a lot of people can appreciate, even non-knife people. And that's the reason why I really genuinely feel, especially even for the prices too. I mean, if you really are a serious collector, I mean, I'm sure dropping $85 to $100 for the carbon version, or if you go through the site, when the stainless steel and carbon were both on Amazon, they both went between $85 and $100. Like I said, if you go through Marttiini's website, unfortunately this is not on there anymore, so that's why I fear that they haven't made it. I mean, Marttiini, if you're watching, please, let us know if that is the case, but please bring this knife back. You guys have so many beautiful knives, and I know with all the different ones you make, but this, I think, is really one of the true classics, and I just really think the knife community would be remiss not to continue having this. And like I said, I'd probably buy quite a few after a while. But getting into also just not even just the quality of the handle and the blade, because they do a very, very good job. I mean, this blade has gone through quite a bit. Actually, what I might end up doing is I might actually re-bluing one side of it. The purpose of the bluing, for those of you who don't know, is for helping to keep rust away, which it does. Even having the higher polish too, because I know it sounds silly, but metal does have pores, if you will. But having the very high polish on it does really close up those pores. And generally, 99% of the time, this knife, if I'm not carving, if it's in storage, I will keep a layer of fixing wax on it. So just the animal fat beeswax, and that does a great job. But when I first got it, I was still pretty new into knives. Ooh. Well, actually, just got myself a little bit. Just a couple layers of skin. No blood, I don't think. Yeah, we'll be good. But it just shows how sharp it is. But when I did first get it, I wasn't the best with keeping up with that, and I noticed a little bit of rust was coming up on it. And I probably could have used a better way of removing it, but I just got one of those rust erasers, and it just took some of the bluing off. Didn't dig into the steel in any way, but I don't know, I'm gonna try re-bluing it, and I don't know, hopefully it doesn't cover up the engraving too much. But even if it does, it is into the metal. I mean, you can feel it into the metal, so it won't be gone. You won't be able to see it as easy. But that's not a big deal. I don't know. I just love that look of it. I want to try and keep it as true as possible. But so setting the knife aside for right now, just getting into the sheath. The sheath is very traditional. From everything I've seen, like I've said before in other videos, Puukos, so that's Scandinavian, those Nordic, Scandi grinds, are my favorite type of knife. Just hands down. Not saying it's the most useful type of knife, but just my favorite style. I'd say probably half, if not most, the knives that I own are Scandi grinds, are, the Puukko. Granted, a lot of them are the more modern ones, like the Timberjack, or, the Moras and everything. But I just love that style. Even the handles I've made. I'll do a video at some point, and I will show some of the knives I've made. Let me rephrase. The handles and sheaths and stuff that I've made. I've messed around a little bit with making blades, but not quite there yet. Need to get some more equipment in order to do that. But I just love the way that it's made. You can see it kind of has where it just kind of bows out, and you have that kind of banana or pepper shape. And then what I really love too is, so this is just how the sheath is, and the knife just sits right in the sheath. And what's great is that really is such a tight fit. And, from my experience with leather, not just sheaths that I've made, but just other leather knives that I've had, the leather will just, expand a little bit over time. And I'm sure this will be no different many years down the line, but this still is super tight. You have to still put do a little bit to pull it out. It doesn't just slide out. And the knife is not going anywhere. Even hold it. I'm putting some good force on that, and then it hasn't even moved at all. But what I do like too is just and it has, for the belt loop, you have the twisted strap in the back, and then the stitching is all up the back, which I just think gives it a really nice aesthetic. And to me, I just think it just shows just how well they do their knives and they do their sheaths. And I believe genuinely I think the price of this it's really, I don't think of it as being overpriced in any way. I think there is a lot of value in that price that they charge. I will give just a little size comparison quick with, well, we already busted it out, so might as well. But so it honestly is about the same size and length as your Benchmade Griptilian, the full-size Griptilian. I should have mentioned that earlier. But then, handle-wise, it's very, very, just a hair longer on the Timberjack. And then your blade So the blade, so yeah, it's probably, it's kind of tough to tell. I'm trying to catch the mirrors on both so you can kind of get an idea. Maybe it might be better to do it like this. And kind of use my forehead as a, so that probably doesn't look quite it on camera, but that looks like just under half an inch. So you can kind of use my balding head as a idea. And these are like butt to butt. Actually, let me slip down a little bit. Oh, so yeah, we're looking at just about a half an inch of difference. Now, this knife goes for anywhere from 18 to 20 bucks. This knife goes anywhere, generally, if they're still making it, but when they were, 85 to 100 bucks. Gonna not count through the Marttiini website. I just feel like everywhere else I've seen it, but I feel like any knife you go through the company website, it's always gonna be more, which is fine. But is this knife worth 4 to 5 times the price? And I think it is, absolutely. I mean, if you disagree, let me know and tell me your reasons why. I can't argue with that. It's your opinion. But in my opinion, I think it's absolutely worth it. With this, you're getting a great knife. I mean, they perform exactly the same, and you're still getting the mirror polish on the edge of this one. I got a little crap on it there. You're getting the same mirror polish, same quality, same steel, but you're getting higher quality when it comes to other things. So performance, exactly the same. You can even argue maybe get a little more edge longevity with this one just because it's a little bit longer. So, you can use more, you have more edge to carve with or use, so it'll, I don't know, I'm trying to think of percent. You might get 10-15% more edge life just by using the entire edge of this versus using the entire edge of that. But you're getting a rubber handle with the plastic guard and bolster, which is fine. I mean, this, I've said before, this is one of my favorite carving knives. This is probably the carving knife I've used the most, with the exception of the 711 by Mora, which I will do a full video on because that really is the knife that really, really got me going with carving knives. But that's a whole other video. But you're getting a comfortable handle. I mean, there's no denying that. We'll use the head again. Old head. Is that working? I'm sorry. But with this, you're getting a wooden handle with bone. You're getting brass instead of plastic, wood instead, and bone instead of rubber. And then even just getting to the sheaths themselves. The sheath for the timberjack, I mean, it's a functional sheath. It works. It holds the knife. It holds it very well. The knife isn't going anywhere. And you do get a pretty decent decent sized belt loop. So I mean, you can fit this. I'll do it again. You can fit this, on most size belts. I mean, you look probably about 2 inches. So I mean, that's wider than any belt I wear. Even my canvas ones are probably about that size. So from a regular typical leather belt to a canvas belt, this will fit no problem at all. So this is more function and this is more fashion. While still getting function, you're getting both. I genuinely feel it is worth 4 to 5 times the price. And it's not like this is a $50 knife and that's a $300 knife or a $250 knife. You're going from, say 18 to 20 to 85 to 100. Even the stainless one, when I found it, I think the stainless one was on KnifeWorks, and that was going for 85. So I really think for your money, you're getting really good value. I mean, I don't want to name names, but I can think of some other knife companies with, similar knives or knives with the same idea, and either not getting the same level of materials or getting the same level of materials and spending way more. So, just kind of glaring in my eye, but the edge, it's just so nice. But that's just my own opinion. So you can take that for what you will. I do want to do a full video just talking about that. Just price and value and everything. Not just necessarily about these knives. I will probably reference these, but just speaking in general. And a lot of it just comes down to what do you want. I mean, if you're looking for a good beater knife, yeah, I mean, you take this. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it, with the exception of the blade, really. But, I am really good now about maintaining my blade, especially the carbon ones. I wouldn't think twice about, if I was doing something in the rain or whatever with it. This, however, I wouldn't, so I guess, yeah, you can look at it that as part of the, so, all right, yeah, this costs 4 to 5 times more, but I wouldn't want this to get wet. And a lot of it just has to do more with the materials. Just, I don't want anything to happen to the wood. The bone I'm not worried about at all, or even the brass. Or even the blade so much for that matter. But just, I don't want anything to happen to the wood. But, I mean, it's treated. It's not just bare wood. But, I don't know. It's a beautiful knife. And I have so many other knives. I don't have to use my fancy, crazy, expensive knives. It's funny, when it comes to fixed blades and folding knives, I have totally different philosophies. Well, in the sense with, fixed blades, like, this is for me, a beautiful work of art that's very functional. It's, working art, I guess I think that's the way I think that's the expression there, working art. But it's, flip the blade over, sorry, but, but at the same time, something like this, which goes for 180, so it goes generally for anywhere from 80 to $100 more than this. This thing, I wouldn't think twice about being out in the rain and cutting and carving and all that stuff. It just, I don't know, it's like well, then again, I have quite a few fixed blades that are, more expensive that I would do the same. I don't know. I think it just comes down to purpose. I wouldn't be hard using a Scandi knife just because it's not made for that. I mean, I have a Becker BK2. I love it. The thing's a beast. I think weighs a pound. I mean, I think Martin and Mickey on Dutch Bushcraft Knives put it best. It's a crowbar with an edge, and the price, from what I've seen, the prices go for, you can get it for about the same price as that. And I mean, that thing, you could just take a house down with it, you use that knife for demolition. But yeah, it actually is a good, yeah, I think that is a good way of putting it, because I have, the Marttiini links folder, and then, I did the video the other night of the Cold Steel Finwolf folder, and those, it's just, they're not made for that hard use in that sense, I just use Scandis on natural materials, but I don't know, I guess that's just redundant. Anyway, we're inching up on the half-hour mark. I'm going to try and keep it under that. I'm going to get the kids ready to bed soon. Sammy, that's my girl, Sammy, her name. She's going to start yelling at me soon. But anyway, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And just let me know your experience. I mean, if you have this knife, or if you would consider getting it, if they're still making it. Because, I mean, at the very least, I'm sure if you check, like, knife forums, you can probably pick one up used for probably a better price. But, or just Marttiinis in general. I mean, they make other higher-end blades. And there are some I want to get. There's some that go for more than this, and some I definitely want to get. I would love to get one of their Laplander blades. I think the Banemesser, I'm just butchering that name. But they just have some of those like higher end knives. They have like the wood grouse and the like the boar's head. Like they go for over $100. But they beautiful knives. But it's kind of a thing where you're just paying a little more for the quality, or with paying a little more for obviously quality in certain materials, but. Just let me know what you guys' thoughts on it. I mean, is this a knife you would consider getting, or if you have it, what are your thoughts on it and your experiences, or just Marttiinis in general? I would love to just find more Marttiini lovers out there. But anyway, guys, please remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. Check us out on Instagram, or me out on Instagram. And you guys have a great rest of your night. And please remember to keep carving and stay sharp. And catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Oh, look, we'll be right at a half hour.